Are you here on your hero's journey? Find out. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon, and I teach people just like you cutting-edge NLP processes and techniques so that you can master your life and take charge of your destiny. So if that sounds good, make sure you click that subscribe button right down here so you can get these videos on a regular basis. I've studied story for years, and I've studied the hero's journey. And what is amazing to me is how well it fits with personal development and self-improvement. So by the end of this video, you're gonna have a much better understanding of how these things connect and how to take the hero's journey and take story and apply it in your life so that you can go on that hero's journey, you can transform and become your true self and actualize your potential. As you know, I often give away something free on my videos, and I'll mention what that is at the end of this video, but if you're really impatient, you can go down there right now and check the description, click that link, and you'll see. I saw this really interesting video on YouTube, and there was a man by the name of Michael Hauge, who was explaining how great stories are made, or what is the composition of great stories in screenwriting and movies. Is a theorist, I suppose, and he teaches theory of story making and filmmaking. And he was talking about the hero's journey is really two journeys. And everything that he was explaining was so similar to what it is that we do in NLP, or more specifically, what we do in self-concept and what I do when I coach clients. It was really amazing. And I went to film school, so I used to study story structure, and I still really like to study it because it resonates with how we live, how we see the world. That's why we love great stories, because in a lot of ways we are living through the hero of the story that we're either watching or reading. And so there's a resonance there. We get it. And I think in some cases we might go too far in that instead of living our own journeys, we will tend to live it through characters in movies, or maybe even we live it through real life people, celebrities, to the detriment of our own journeys. And so the way he described these two heroes' journeys was there's the sort of outer journey of accomplishment. There's a goal we want to achieve, and so we go after it. And that's what is on the surface level. That's what we see in the movie. But there's another journey going on inside of the hero. And this is just like real life. I mean, this is exactly what's going on with pretty much everybody. So what that inner journey is really about is I have this facade that I put out to the world, the false self, the self that is not real because I'm too afraid for other people to see who I really am. Because if they see who I really am and then the world rejects me, then it's almost like I don't exist. I don't have any self-worth. However, there is this untapped potential inside of me. And if I don't go for that, if I don't fulfill that untapped potential, then I ultimately live a very unfulfilling life. But I can also say, well, it's at least comfortable and familiar enough because I get to live within this facade. I never get exposed, but yet you're never going to be fulfilled. And that's what the hero is going through. And it's the outer challenge that they're going after something that they want. And so that sort of gets them going. That sort of gets them in motion and taking action and moving in that direction. And along the way, then they realize they have to deal with this inner issue that, okay, if I can get what I want, but only if I'm willing to drop the facade, the fake self, and risk people seeing me for who I am for the first time. I'll link this video right down below in the description. I highly recommend checking it out. He even goes into going into a little bit of theory about the movie Good Will Hunting. And this is so NLP. He talks about that Will, the main character in Good Will Hunting, he has been abused since he was a child. And he's living the false self because he is basically a custodian at MIT, when the truth is he's smarter than any of the professors there. But he's not willing to show that side of himself. He's actually a little afraid to show that side of himself, who his true self is. And that's only part of it. There's a lot more within him that he's not willing to put out there, that he's protecting. And what Michael Hauge was saying was that he is wounded. He's been wounded since he was a young child because his father was abusive. And from that wound, he creates a belief about himself and a belief about the world. This is actually re-imprinting in NLP. This is how we identify when it's time to do a re-imprint with someone. And so you formulate this belief from a deep inner wound, and it's a belief about the world, but it's also a belief about yourself. And it limits you, it holds you back. It's also what keeps you trying to protect that false sense of self, or trying to protect your true sense of self, putting that false sense of self out there because that wound is still there and it hasn't healed. And so in re-imprinting, we go in there and we bring resources back to the part of you, or to that younger self who was wounded, so that we heal that wound and then grow you back up again. And this is what happens in story, but it's also what happens in real life. So in story, you can recognize that hero's journey is actually your journey in your life too. And I say this to people all the time about the outer journey, that just achieving a goal, just achieving something that you want, the accomplishment itself is not really going to be what fulfills you. It's nice. You will enjoy it for, a short period of time, but it's not ultimately what's going to fulfill you. I don't think that you shouldn't go for goals. I don't think you shouldn't achieve things. I think that's one of the things we're meant to do. We're meant to actualize that potential, but don't think that will fulfill you. And so here's what happens is people don't really understand that deeper journey, that inner journey. So what happens is they go after this accomplishment, this goal, whatever it is that they want, and along the way it gets hard. And it gets hard not only externally, but it gets hard inside, because what happens? I have to face myself. I have to face the fact that I've created a false self, and I have to make a choice here. Do I drop the false self and ultimately fulfill internally my ultimate potential and become who I truly am, regardless of how people might judge me? A lot of us don't understand that. A lot of us don't understand that that's what's going on inside of us when we're pursuing something, especially something big. And especially for men, when it comes to career, this is where we think that our existence is judged on. It's our career. If we're not successful in our career, if we're not accomplished, then we're a loser. We're nothing. And so that might actually prevent us from trying, because we fear being judged that way. Women tend to be more relationship and community oriented. So a lot of times their fears have to do with how they're judged in a community, or how they're judged by the relationships in their lives that are most important to them. The reason why people quit a lot of times before they achieve a goal, it's not so much because it's so hard, or that whatever they're going after has a lot of obstacles, or whatever they're going after is sought after by a lot of people, so there's a lot of competition. What really stops a lot of people, without them even realizing it, is that having to face themselves, is that having to allow themselves, or to have to finally accept who they truly are. That's where the true hero's journey is. The journey is more inside than it is on the outside. I've met people who have accomplished a lot, and there's a lot of people who can accomplish a lot without having to go through that inner journey. Maybe they're talented, or it's just something that comes natural to them. And oftentimes these people are not very happy. They're not very fulfilled, because they're not really taking that inner journey. And so, like I said, I've met a lot of these people. They are extremely accomplished. They have everything that you could possibly imagine would make a person happy. You even have people that it goes to the extreme of, say, like Anthony Bourdain, who to me had the best job in the world. He got paid to travel the world and eat every kind of cuisine they could put in front of him. You had Chris Cornell of Soundgarden, who had everything you could imagine. He was an extremely talented singer, extremely talented musician. He had fame, he had fortune, he had a wonderful family, and Anthony Bourdain and Chris Cornell killed themselves. So those things don't ultimately lead to fulfillment. Like I said, they're good to go after. I would never tell a person not to go after a goal they want to achieve, or not to accomplish something that they feel like they wanted to accomplish. But if we don't take the inner journey, we are robbing ourselves of our true potential. If we don't take that inner journey, we are robbing ourselves of discovering who we truly are. Some people will look at this as a self-absorbed pursuit, but I really believe that it is anything but. People say, oh, well, it's great, Damon, that you have time to spend so much time working on yourself. What else really is there? And when I say that, I don't mean that I'm everything or that you should think of yourself as everything. But if you're not discovering yourself, and I don't mean that in a way of like yoga retreats in Bali or something like that. What I mean is, if you're not really challenging yourself, if you're not really tapping into your true potential and really breaking down that false self, discovering who you really are and finding out what the world is really about to you, what else is there? And how else are you going to be there for other people? How else are you going to be your best self for other people if you're not doing that? If you're not going deep, if you're not understanding yourself in the truest way that you could possibly understand yourself. So remember, when you're taking that journey, which is anytime you're stepping out of your comfort zone to accomplish something, make sure you take that inner journey along the way. If you would like some help with this, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of finding out, a little bit of self-discovery, finding out what is important to you and what you do want to work on, what is your potential that's calling you, what area of life you want to put your focus on to improve. There is a link down in the description. You click that link and you'll come to a set of questions, and you answer those questions, and then it puts it together for you in an assessment and sends it to you so that you can really find out what it is that your potential is calling you to do and what area of life that would be good for you to focus first. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button, click the bell as well, so that you can get notified when these videos come out. If you know of a friend or a family member who you think would enjoy this video and benefit from it, make sure you share it with them. Take care.